Okay, how's everybody today? Pretty good? Sorry I'm late. This is the busiest time of the year for me because I'm organizing not one but two big events. One is for COMPASS, my own magazine, and one is for Taichung Meiguo Shanghui. One is next weekend, and one is the beginning of December. But I have some. If any of you want to take posters or cards, this is our event. It's coming up on 11月5、6号 at 台中市民广场. Last week I reminded you about the Taichung Jazz Festival, right? It's funny. Everybody thinks that I organize the Taichung Jazz Festival, but I don't. I think they get it confused with this event. And of course, this event is also at Taichung Shimin Guangchang. So everybody, last week, people were like, oh, you must be so busy, or, oh, you must be happy the festival's over now. And I was like, no, yeah. So anyhow, if you want to, this event is open to everybody. I think we'll have about 40 or 50 vendor booths selling food and drinks. And that's a big difference between us and the Jazz Festival, because as you know, the Jazz Festival this year did not have any food and drink vendors, although everybody was eating and drinking, and there were lots of people selling food and drinks around it. They didn't have their own, but we will, and we will have about 18 to 20 bands and musicians playing all kinds of music. So you want to go there from about 12 o'clock until about 9 o'clock in the evening. We have on Saturday and Sunday, not this Saturday and Sunday, but next week, 5、6号. And of course, I have some of these cards. If you want to take one when we're done today, you can take them. You can hand them out to your friends. You can do whatever you want with them. So yeah, it's a good season for festivals and for events. Because the weather is usually nice, usually, and we have, obviously at the end of the year, I think people are interested in doing things and having fun. But again, like I said last week, it's been very refreshing to watch people having a good time. At the Jazz Festival, even on Sunday, I went on Sunday again. This year I went 7 nights to the Jazz Festival, but on Sunday it was raining. I think you remember, and I still went. My friends went, and by about 6:30, the rain had stopped, and there were lots of people out there, and we had a good evening. So that was fun. We enjoyed it. Saturday was really crowded. No, I showed up. I was on Saturday night. I actually had a dinner. The Taichung Shizhangfu invited me to a dinner with the Model United Nations, Model Youth United Nations. It's the 年轻少什么什么 Model 模拟联合国. Anyhow, they had this dinner, and so after dinner, I went over to what? Oh, after dinner, I went over to the Shimin Guangchang, and like you said, it was packed. So I just kind of stood at the back near Gongyi Road and just listened because the music was quite loud. So I could stand back there and listen. Actually, no, that was Saturday night. No, I did go. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I went so many nights. I'm always confused. Friday night, I went and stood at the back, and it was very crowded. But then Saturday, I had some friends that already had a spot in the middle. So I found them. But it was funny because I don't know if you've been there. There's so many people on the grass. So I'm trying to, I know my friends are way over there, and I'm trying to figure out how to get from place to place without stepping on people, right? You're kind of walking in between people and trying to step over people and to get all the way over there to the middle. But I was lucky on Sunday. I have a friend who always goes there very early and gets a spot. And on Sunday, we were right in front of the stage. I mean, the right in front of the stage. So we had the best spot on the field on Sunday. So anyhow, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, so anyhow, the COMPASS Festival is not quite as big as the Jazz Festival, but it's still pretty good. We get a lot of people there, and I'm looking forward to it. So anyhow, you're welcome. please tell your friends and come out and enjoy the weekend with us. Okay, so today I thought we would start with, this was the main headline story. I tried to pick out a couple stories. But this one says, U.S., Japan, and South Korea show solidarity. Okay, so right away we have a word. I don't think we've learned this before. What does solidarity mean? Yeah, united. If people are together, if people are, I think probably united is probably the best word. Unity or united. So maybe the best word here would be unity, unity. If you say they're showing unity. But I think solidarity has a slightly different meaning as well. It's kind of the idea that I share I'm on the same side as you. I'm sharing the same feelings as you. So, for example, if you say, I want to show or demonstrate solidarity with the people in Ukraine, right? It means I want to support them. I want to be with them. Not be with them physically, but I want to kind of be. I want to be on their side. I want to show my support for them. So it doesn't always have to mean that like we're officially united or we're officially allies with each other, friends. But if I want to support somebody, I want to show my support. You say I want to show my solidarity with those people or with that group or with that cause. So anyhow, yeah, it's a good word. Why don't we say together, solidarity. Solidarity. And then, of course, that word is easier. Unity. Unity. Okay, so these three countries, it says show solidarity, and then, of course, we'll find out why. It says back in Taiwan, diplomatic officials said that they want to ensure there is peace in the Taiwan Strait and would cooperate to make sure the nation can defend itself. Okay, now, of course, this is a good word we've talked about. It's quite easy, I think. Ensure means to make sure, right? So if you say, I want to make sure, but it's easier to say, I want to ensure something. I want to ensure that I have enough food for lunch, or, you could ensure anything. So now, of course, there is a slightly different word. We talk about the word insure, right? Now, insure literally means like, what insurance is, right? 保险, right? So you could say, have you insured your car yet? Have you insured your house against fires? And so it's a different word. It means different, but it's almost the same. I mean, it's spelled, this is insure and that's ensure. So why don't we say together, ensure, ensure, and then this word, insure, insure. Okay, so let's see what they say. It says envoys from the U.S., Japan, and South Korea yesterday said that an unparalleled scale of response would be warranted if North Korea were to conduct a seventh nuclear bomb test, while the three also discussed the situation across the Taiwan Strait. Okay, so there's a couple words here that are interesting. First of all, I think you know what an envoy is, right? What's an envoy? Yeah, probably a best word would be a representative, 代表. But this is not just any representative, right? Usually it means, when you use the word envoy, it has a very official meaning to it. Official, I guess I could say I'm an envoy from my family sent me as an envoy to the party or something like that. But envoy, whenever I see that word, it usually means, it's like you're representing a country or a nation or a government. It has a slightly more official sound to it. It's not just any representative. But yeah, so why don't we say together, envoy? Envoy. Okay, so of course these are representatives of these three countries. They said that an unparalleled scale of response would be warranted. Now, there's two words here. First of all, unparalleled, what does that mean? Yeah, there's a very similar word, and we've talked about this other word a few times. Yes, very good. Unprecedented. So if you say we've never done something like this before, or it's never happened like that before, we say unprecedented. So unparalleled means, yeah, it's like nothing like we've ever done before. You know what parallel means, right? Normally. Parallel, if we say these are two parallel lines, right? Okay. But if we say unparalleled, means it's not like anything we've done before. It's unprecedented, unparalleled. So why don't we say that together? Well, first of all, let's just say this middle word here, parallel. Parallel. We could say these are parallel lines, right? Okay. And then unparalleled. Unparalleled. Okay. And then this word, unprecedented. Sorry, that's a C-R-E-C. Sorry, I'm getting, yeah, unprecedented. My E's and my C's are getting mixed up. Yeah, unprecedented. Okay, so again, unprecedented. Unprecedented. Okay, so here it says unprecedented scale. Scale, of course, means size of response, or we could say reaction, would be warranted. Now, if we say this is warranted, or what does that mean? Not necessarily guaranteed. I know you're thinking of the word warranty, which is very similar, but if you say this is warranted, it's deserving, right? It means this is the right thing to do. This is deserving of something. For example, you can say, let's say your friend, you do something. Let's say it's your friend's birthday and you make an appointment to meet them for dinner and you completely forget. You completely forgot. And they're very angry because they went there and you never showed up. You could say, I'm really sorry, your anger is warranted. It means you deserve to be angry. Now, another word very similar is unwarranted. You could say his anger was unwarranted, means there's no reason for him to be angry, okay? Or his action was unwarranted, means he did this thing, but there was no reason for him to do it. So we could say that a big, unprecedented, unparalleled scale of responses, big response, would be deserving. There's a good reason for it. It is warranted if North Korea is conducting a 7th nuclear weapons test. So if North Korea does this, then of course we should. There is a good reason for us to do this. Okay, does everybody understand that? Okay, so something we say is warranted or is unwarranted. Yes. If something were to happen, that means if it does happen. Yeah, if it were to happen. So it means that if this happens, then if this took place, then we could do that. So if is to conduct. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say were to happen. I wouldn't say that's necessarily unlikely. Yeah, but I wouldn't say were to happen it means it's not like it's impossible. I mean, obviously this could very much happen, right? This is very much a possibility. You could say, for example, the U.S. will respond if China were to attack Taiwan. We could say that. That's a normal sentence. What? Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but if were to happen, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It means it could happen. If this happens, this is what we'll do, or this would be justified. Actually, I just thought of another word. Would be, good word. In fact, its exact replacement for the word warranted is the word justified. And of course, we can also add unjustified. justified. So yeah, this is exactly the same word as that word. So why don't we say together, justified, justified, unjustified, unjustified. And then this word, warranted, warranted, unwarranted. Those words are exactly the same. So you could say your anger is very justified, or is justified, or your anger is unjustified. Why are you angry? Yeah, so this is a very good word. Now, I mentioned, someone said earlier, guarantee. If you buy a product, often that product has a warranty. A warranty is, it says, well, if this breaks in, I don't know, sometimes they say 30 days or 1 year, then we will replace it for free, or we will fix it for free. That's a warranty. So when you buy most, high value products like a computer or a car or something, there's usually a warranty on. iPhone has a warranty on it, I'm sure. If it breaks, they should replace it within a certain amount of time. Of course, there's always these conditions, 条件, like if you didn't drop it or you didn't, whatever. So anyhow, let's say it together, warranty. Warranty. Okay. So, if you buy something, your friend says, is there a warranty, or how long is your warranty on this product? Okay. So anyhow, back to this, it says an unparalleled scale of response would be warranted or would be justified if what? If North Korea were to conduct a 7th nuclear bomb test. Okay. So obviously they've already done 6. While the 3 also discussed the situation across the Taiwan Strait. Now, it's funny because sometimes they say in the Taiwan Strait, across the Taiwan Strait. I guess you can say it either way. It's fine. Okay, so let's read this together. Envoys from the U.S., Japan, and South Korea yesterday said that an unparalleled scale of response. Let's just say that phrase again. Unparalleled scale of response would be warranted if North Korea were to conduct a 7th nuclear bomb test. Let's say it again. 7th nuclear bomb test. While the 3 also discussed the situation across the Taiwan Strait. Okay. Yeah. So here it says, Japanese Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Takeo Mori, South Korean First Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Cho Hyun-dong, and U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman told a news conference in Tokyo that North Korea must refrain from further provocations and that the 3 nations support Taiwan's right to self-defense. Okay, so I think we've learned these words before, but refrain from means what? To do what? Yeah, to restrain from, to not do something, right? So if you, let's say you're in the library, you're reading and you're, maybe there's a kid and the child starts shouting, right? Or screaming, and the librarian might say, please refrain from shouting in the library, or yelling in the library, or please refrain from running in the library. So it just means don't do that. Don't take that action. Yeah, you must refrain from smoking if you want to protect your health. Okay, so does everybody understand that? Okay, so why don't we say together, refrain from. Refrain from. Right, and we use those 2 words together, refrain from something. Okay, so North Korea, Beihan, must refrain from more provocations. And I know we've learned that word before. That comes from what word? To provoke, right? I know we've talked about, to provoke anger, to provoke action, to cause someone to do something, right? So to provoke. My forgetfulness provoked his anger. Okay, so why don't we say together, to provoke. To provoke. And then this word, provocations. Provocations. So yeah, and of course, what are we talking about? Well, if North Korea sets off a nuclear bomb again, it would provoke the other countries, right? It would provoke them to action. It might provoke them to fear. It might provoke them to anger, whatever. But it causes something. It causes somebody to feel or do something. Okay, so they must not do or carry out further provocations. Of course, a provocation would be usually an action that the three nations support Taiwan's right to self-defense. Okay, so let's read this. Takeo Mori, sorry, I missed the line. Japanese Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs. Takeo Mori. South Korean First Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs. Cho Hyun-dong. And U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. Wendy Sherman told a news conference in Tokyo that North Korea must refrain from further provocations, and that the three nations support Taiwan's right to self-defense. Self-defense. Right. Okay. You notice here that, these titles, I'm sure you know this probably, but vice and deputy, these are very similar. They mean the same thing. Some countries use vice president, vice minister, vice mayor, or other countries will use the word deputy. Like, for example, in Taichung, probably most cities in Taiwan, they don't say vice mayor, 副市长. They say deputy mayor. Yeah. So yeah, either they have the same meaning, but yeah, you choose one or the other. Okay, now it says here, Sherman reiterated the U.S. stance that it does not support Taiwan independence, but that it does not stop it from working with Japan and South Korea to help Taiwan protect itself. Okay, reiterate. What does that word mean? Reiterate. To say something again, right? If you reiterate, of course, means again, right? R-E. Now, you could say the word iterate. It's not as common. For some reason, we don't say the word to iterate something, but reiterate is actually a very common word or expression. To reiterate means to say it again, to emphasize it again. And of course, stance, we've talked about that before, is, the way that you are standing, but it also means, like you said, position. What is your position on this? What is your opinion on this? So your stance. So let's say it again. Reiterated. Reiterated. Stance. Stance. Okay. Okay, so let's read this. Sherman reiterated. Reiterated the U.S. stance that it does not support Taiwanese independence, but that it does not stop it from working with Japan and South Korea to help Taiwan protect itself. Okay, that's a photo caption. Okay, let's see here. It says here, the United States has repeated publicly that we do not support Taiwan's independence, but we want to ensure that there is peace. And so we will be doing whatever we can to support Taiwan and work with Japan and with Republic of Korea or South Korea to ensure that Taiwan can defend itself. Okay. So again, this word repeated, reiterated, same thing. Okay, so that's, I think we know new words there. Let's read this. The U.S. has repeated publicly that we do not support Taiwan's independence, but we want to ensure that there is peace. And so we will be doing whatever we can to support Taiwan and work with Japan and with Republic of South Korea to ensure that Taiwan can defend itself. Sherman said. Okay. So it says here, at a Chinese Communist Party meeting this month, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for accelerating China's plans to build a world-class military and said his country would never renounce the right to use force to resolve the Taiwan issue. Okay, so here we have accelerating. What does that word mean? To speed up, to go faster, right? What is an accelerator? Do you know? Yeah. We often call that in a car, we call that the gas pedal, right? You know, pedal, P-E-D-A-L, is what you push with your foot, right? Gas pedal means when you push on it, it gets more gas, 加油, to the engine, and then the engine will go faster. The car will go faster. So we call that an accelerator or an accelerator pedal or a gas pedal. Okay, it means to go. So anything, if you make anything go faster, to accelerate, that's simply what it means. Okay, so why don't we say it together? And now, before I say that, we pronounce the first C has a K sound, K, and the second has a S sound. So we say accelerate. So let's say it together. Accelerate. Accelerate. Okay, so Xi Jinping called for accelerating or speeding up China's plans to build a world-class military and said his country would never renounce the right to use force to resolve the Taiwan issue. Now, what is renounce? I think, kind of. To renounce usually means to say you will not do something or not support something. Usually the idea of renouncing means to actually state it, to say it, right? Whereas abandon, abandon's a very broad word. We can use abandon for a variety of things. But to renounce means that I say or state that I will not support or do something. So, for example, you could say he renounced the president, or he renounced smoking, or he renounced, whatever. Anything that you go against, you say, I will not do it, or I'm against it. So that's the idea of renounce. Again, it means to say or state something. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Usually it's more of a statement, to say it. Yeah. It doesn't involve action usually. Of course you could renounce something but still do it. But yeah, it's to say it. Okay. So why don't we say together, renounce. Renounce. Okay. We can renounce a person. We can say, I renounce him. It means I'm against him. I say he's wrong, or he's bad or evil or whatever. But yeah, we can renounce a person. Okay. So the China would never renounce the right, okay, the 权利 to use force to resolve. Of course, resolve we know is to solve, right? Remember the SOLV, to solve or to fix or to end, to 解决, the Taiwan issue. Okay, yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. So I think the U.S. position is very, very tricky because the U.S. is kind of we say to walk a tightrope. You know what a tightrope is? Where you go to a circus and there's a guy walking on a tightrope. I think the U.S. is walking on this tightrope because traditionally the U.S. has said, well, we acknowledge, we don't support, we acknowledge the one China policy. And that's a very fine line there because China says, oh, well, China would claim that the U.S. supports the one China, but you look at American government language, it says acknowledge. Acknowledge means we understand your position. Yeah. So the U.S. says, okay, we acknowledge that position. At the same time, because we acknowledge that position and because we have diplomatic relations with China and not Taiwan, we don't support Taiwan independence. And that's the official position. But I think the U.S. position unofficially is that we support Taiwan as it is, and we do not want any change in the status, especially by force. And I think traditionally, as long as China was not changing the status quo, you know the word status quo, as long as China was not changing that, or Taiwan wasn't overtly changing that, the U.S. would be like, okay, fine, it's okay. But as soon as anybody starts to change the status quo, then the U.S. says this is a problem. And recently, I think the U.S. has been fairly happy that Taiwan has not been changing the status quo. I think there's no doubt, if you ask anybody, outside of China, that they would say, well, Taiwan's really not doing anything, overtly. I mean, they're not really, they're just there, So I think now that China is being more aggressive and actually, you've seen all this stuff with Xi Jinping, I think the U.S. is now saying, okay, you're actually changing the status quo. So officially, we'll still say, well, no, we don't support Taiwan independence, but because you're changing status, then we will step up and we will increase our support for Taiwan. So I think a lot of everything, I think the U.S. policy is always dependent on what China does. If China sits back and doesn't do anything, then the U.S. says, okay, great, we don't have to worry about this. But the moment China starts to get very aggressive and starts to threaten Taiwan, then the U.S., that's why Joe Biden says 4 times now, the U.S. will defend Taiwan. Because now, if China wasn't threatening Taiwan, I don't think the U.S. would say that. I think the U.S. would be like, well, we don't have to say much. We can be quiet. We can just let things go. But if China starts getting more aggressive, then the U.S. says, okay, now we have to stand up. Because what's the U.S. goal here is peace in the Taiwan Strait. Of course, the U.S. doesn't want to see a war, not just because of Taiwan, but because of the whole world, the global economy and everything else. And, so I think the U.S. is always trying to balance the old policies with what's the reality of what's going on. And so the U.S. could say, yeah, we support Taiwan independence, but what would that mean then? What would that mean? Basically, that would mean that then we're accused of changing the status quo, right? Then China can say, well, America's changed the status quo. And, with the way Xi Jinping is right now, I don't know. He's kind of, I think he's a little bit unstable, So I think that the U.S. is saying we don't want to provoke China, but at the same time, we need to make it very clear to China that we will defend Taiwan. So again, the U.S. is trying to play this balancing act. We don't want to provoke them, but we don't want them to take action against Taiwan. So what do? We have to kind of use this kind of, like you said, it almost sounds hypocritical. It almost sounds like double, double speak. We say double talk. But yeah, it is what it is. But I've long felt that the U.S.'s reaction always depends on what China does. If China is more aggressive, the U.S. will be more aggressive. If China is less aggressive, then the U.S. will be less aggressive. Of course, recently, China's been very aggressive. So, so I think that's the way it goes. It's a strange situation. There's nothing quite like it in the world for the U.S. or anybody else. It's a very unusual situation. But okay. So anyhow, let's read this together. Oops, are we at the beginning of the paragraph? Yeah. So let's read this together. At a Chinese Communist Party meeting this month, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for accelerating China's plans to build a world-class military and said his country would never renounce the right to use force to resolve the Taiwan issue. Okay. So here it says, earlier the three, of course, is the U.S., Japan, and South Korea, called on Pyongyang to reduce tensions. Washington and its allies believe North Korea could be about to resume nuclear bomb testing for the first time since 2017. Okay. So, could be about to resume nuke. So it could be ready to. We could say about to be ready to resume nuclear bomb testing for the first time since 2017. Okay. Okay, so let's read this. Earlier, the three called on Pyongyang to reduce tensions. Of course, Pyongyang is North Korea, the Shoudu of North Korea. Washington and its allies believe North Korea could be about to resume nuclear bomb testing for the first time since 2017. Okay. And here's that word again. So it says, we agreed that an unparalleled scale of response would be necessary if North Korea pushes ahead with a seventh nuclear test, Cho said. Now, when we say pushes ahead, what's another way of saying that? To go ahead or to continue, you say, I decided to push ahead with my plan. Means I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to continue, I'm going to do it. Okay, so if North Korea pushes ahead, push means, of course, to right? Pushes ahead with its seventh nuclear test. So I guess their sixth one was back in 2017. It wasn't recently. Okay, so let's read this. We agree. Excuse me. We agreed that an unparalleled scale of response. Let's say it again. Unparalleled scale of response would be necessary if North Korea pushes ahead with a seventh nuclear test, Cho said. Okay. Here's these words again. We urge North Korea to refrain from further provocations, Sherman said, calling them reckless and deeply destabilizing for the region. So what does reckless mean? I think it's a stronger word than careless. Reckless driving. That's what I think about the most. What? Not completely. Unpredictable could be, you could say being unpredictable could be reckless, but it doesn't mean the same thing. Unpredictable means I don't know what you're going to do. I can't predict. But reckless means simply dangerous. Yeah, it's going to cause problems. Last night I was driving home on Taiwan, Wenxing Road, section 3, and it was rush hour. And a guy on a Zhongji motorcycle, red license plate, young guy, was just going crazy. I mean, it was heavy traffic, and he was doing this as fast as he could go through heavy traffic. And I looked at this guy, and I thought, if he keeps driving like that, in 2 months, either he's going to be dead or he's going to be in a hospital. Honestly, you cannot drive like that in Taiwan and not get in an accident. And this is a Zhongji, big motorcycle. We call it a sport bike. It's a very fast motorcycle. But it was such heavy traffic, and he was driving so recklessly with a, if you want to turn this into a fuzi, recklessly. He was driving so recklessly, I just thought, this guy he's going to kill himself, really, honestly. You can't drive in Taiwan. I don't care how good you are. To use your word, traffic in Taiwan is so unpredictable that if you drive like that, you're going to get in an accident. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, right? So why don't we say it together? Reckless. Reckless. Yeah. And then as a fuzi, recklessly. Recklessly. Yeah. I don't know if I was thinking if it's the right term in Chinese. I said either he is going to shang tian. Is that the right word? Means to go to heaven. Is that the way to say it? Oh, yeah, or 住院. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I thought, man, this guy's crazy. So anyhow, reckless and deeply destabilizing. Destabilizing means what? But it means if you destabilize something, it means to make it unstable. Yeah. So it doesn't mean it's unstable, but you're going to make it unstable. So, of course, stable or to stabilize means, so the opposite of this would be to stabilize, right? You say, I want to stabilize, I'm trying to stabilize the economy, or he's trying to stabilize his company. Means to make it more stable. But if you destabilize it, it means you make it unstable. Okay? So you could, you could say right now China is destabilizing in Asia, or North Korea's actions are very destabilizing. They're making things less stable or unstable. Okay? So let's read this together. Destabilizing. Destabilizing. Okay. So, yeah, it's destabilizing for the whole region, of course, if North Korea tests nuclear weapons. Okay. Okay, so let's read this together. We urge North Korea to refrain from further provocations, Sherman said, calling them reckless and deeply destabilizing. Stabilizing. Let's say that phrase again. Reckless and deeply destabilizing. For the region. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's just read this and then we'll go to a different story. So it says here, anything that happens here, such as a North Korean nuclear test, has implications for the security of the entire world, she said. We hope that everyone on the UN Security Council would understand that any use of a nuclear weapon will change the world in incredible ways. Now, it's interesting because usually when we use the word incredible, it sounds like a good thing, right? Wow, that's incredible. It's wonderful. But here, of course, it's not a positive way. It just means change the world in big ways or significant ways or amazing. But again, amazing and incredible usually we think of as very very positive. But here, of course, it doesn't mean that. Yeah, unimaginable. Yeah, in huge ways. So yeah, incredible ways. Maybe she should have used a different word. But yeah, so North Korean nuclear tests has implications, and we've used this word before. Implication, if you say this has implications for that, what does that mean? Yeah, but it has, I think in this regard, maybe you could say it has influence or an impact, 影响, you could say, what are the implications? What is going to happen because you did that? Or what is it? Yeah. So it could be the meaning behind something, right? What are you trying to express or communicate? What are you implying, right? Remember the word implication comes from the word to imply, IMPLY. Okay. We've talked about this. In fact, yesterday I was doing some 跨文化训练 with somebody, and we were talking about 日本, Japan, and their indirect communication. And I said, if you're at your friend's house, maybe you're at your friend's party, and you say, oh, I feel very tired right now. What are you implying? Well, maybe you imply you want to go home, or you imply that I think this is 很无聊, or very boring. But if you say, oh, I feel very tired. Now, of course, maybe you're not implying anything. Maybe you just feel tired. But it could mean that you're implying something. But here, implication is, it means it has an impact. It means there's something this is going to influence or impact the security of the entire world. So the implications of that action. Okay. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So why don't we say that first word, to imply. To imply. Implications. Implications. Okay. So yeah, it's not just Asia, it's not just Korea, it's the whole world, right? You shouldn't be, North Korea especially, you shouldn't be testing nuclear weapons. They're not even a member of that official nuclear weapons treaty, the countries that officially have nuclear weapons. Okay, so let's read this together. Anything that happens here, such as a North Korean nuclear test, has implications for the security of the entire world. She said, we hope indeed that everyone on the UN Security Council would understand that any use of a nuclear weapon will change the world in incredible ways. In incredible ways. Okay. It's interesting. With all the talk about, Xi Jinping and China and Taiwan, it's easy to forget that South Korea, has lived with a very similar situation for over 70 years. I read a study that said that North Korea, if war started tomorrow in Korea, Seoul, the capital, is within easy, shooting artillery range of North Korea. So they said within, I think I read that something like within 90 minutes, I forget how many tens of thousands of people would die because North Korea can just hit Seoul with artillery missiles. It's right. It's like between I don't know the exact distance, but it's like between, let's say if it was between Miaoli and Taichung, it's that close, or maybe Hsinchu and Taichung, but it's that. So it's if North Korea decided to attack South Korea, it would be overwhelming force right away, immediately, right there. So, it's, sometimes in Taiwan, we focus on our situation. Of course we should, but, South Korea is in a very similar situation, just like Taiwan for a very long time. So that's why, again, I think, the U.S. is always trying to maintain peace and stability in many different places. Obviously Korea, the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea, in places like that, trying to make sure that we don't have a war anywhere. Yeah. But it's unfortunate that we have people like Putin and Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping, yeah, causing trouble. When I read the news, watch the news, I always shake my head and I think, I'm always amazed at how one person can cause so much trouble, right? One person. Yeah. So did you all watch? I'm sure you all watched I've been watching, people have been watching over. Did you watch the news with Xi Jinping and Hu Jintao? Yeah, I mean, I think that was really shocking for a lot of people, not just in Taiwan, but around the world, because they're like, what are you doing, right? I mean, Hu Jintao is, he's a former president, right? I mean, he's the former leader of China. How can you just, do that to him? So, of course, they said, oh, he wasn't feeling well. But if you watch the video, I told my friends, and a lot of people, I'm not the only one, a lot of people said that if you watch that happen, you can go to a different page. It really reminded me of a mafia movie. You know what the mafia is, right? It's actually specifically refers to the Italian, Idali, 黑手道, and what is it? Oh, 黑手党, okay. 黑手党, okay. 党 is like party? Okay, 黑手党. Yeah, so it reminds me of a mafia movie because, in a mafia movie, they always grab the guy and they take him out. I told my friends the only thing that was missing was a baseball bat. Bangshou, if you watch the mafia movies, they take him out and they beat him over the head. But that's honestly, when you watch the video, that's what it looks like, right? You look at everybody around Hu Jintao, they're all kind of standing there, sitting there, and nobody's looking. Everybody's just looking straight ahead. And only the guy sitting next to Hu Jintao looks like he's trying to he's not sure, should I help him? What should I do, And then when he leaves, the guy's wiping his face, and then you see him with Li Keqiang, he's patting his shoulder like, good luck, I'm because they're in the same faction. So anyhow, it's what a crazy mess. So yeah, yeah. Anyhow, I think we have to oops. Yeah, well, I don't think the CIA does that anymore. Maybe 70 years ago, the CIA might do stuff like that, but I don't think they do that kind of. I think they gather intelligence, but yeah, I'm sure you're not the only person who wishes for that. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, there's another article here. Yes, I was reading this. Yeah, you used the word assassinate, right? Does everybody know what that word means? That's a really that goes way back. I remember reading about that, and I'm not completely familiar with the wording or a connection, but yeah, I think you're correct. I think it goes so. I'll just write it down for you all. The word assassin, and then of course we can say to assassinate. Assassin is a killer, but not any killer. It's someone who goes to kill somebody, usually somebody important, or somebody you're targeting somebody, right? Yeah, kind of like a contract killer. So somebody hires that person or assigns that person to go kill somebody. So if someone is killed in that situation, we say they are well, to assassinate means to kill. But if you say they were assassinated, okay, we can also add a D, okay, then it means they were killed. So, for example, in American history, we say President Lincoln or President Kennedy, they were assassinated, okay? Somebody went and killed them intentionally. but they were killed by an assassin who assassinated them. So you can say were assassinated or to assassinate somebody else. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, so let's read this together. Assassin. Assassin. To assassinate. To assassinate. Were assassinated. Were assassinated. Yeah, so that's a very specific kind of killing. Like he said, he used the word a contract killer. Contract is like 合约. Now I'm sure they don't always sign a 合约, but it means somebody gives you a contract. It gives you an assignment to kill somebody. Kill somebody. So yeah. Panama. Panama. Yeah. Noriega. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, he was involved, or they accused him of being involved in a drug operation in Panama. And there were a few things that's one little action that I didn't research much, but if you go back, there's several reasons that they gave for going in there and getting rid of him, or arresting him or taking action in Panama. Panama is a very interesting situation because Panama also is, U.S. and Panama have a very interesting historical relationship because, the Panama Canal was built by the United States, and for, I don't know how many years, 50 years, 60 years, it was American territory. That canal that goes through, it was called the Panama Canal Zone. And the zone was actually U.S. under U.S. control. So U.S. had GD there. And I remember, I used to collect stamps, 邮票. They actually had U.S. stamps that said Panama Canal Zone on them. And so, Americans would live there. And then I remember Jimmy Carter, he signed an agreement to give back the Panama Canal. I think it was 1999, right? In 1999, they gave it back to Panama. But this Noriega, there was a whole situation there between Noriega and the U.S. And, of course, the U.S. is worried about the Panama Canal Zone. So, yeah, that's a good, I should go back and research that. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think there was but again, I need to go back and research it. I forget exactly what happened there. But yeah, maybe, but I don't think so. So yeah. So anyhow, this is, there's a lot of interesting things. If you read this history of the CIA, there's a lot of interesting things that happened, in the last 70, 80 years. 70 years probably, yeah. It was very interesting. I don't know about Taiwanese high school students, but actually, I don't even know if all American students have this, but in my high school, all juniors, so you would be like 高二, you have a big term, we call it a term paper. It's like a big paper that you have to write, part of your English class, and it takes a lot of research, and it's very, very, takes a long time, and that's part of your junior year. You have to write this long research paper, and every student can pick what topic they want to write about. But it's a huge amount of mafan because you have to work on it, do all this research. And, that's probably the first time in high school that you have to write this very detailed research paper, much like you might write in university. And, the teacher, I remember, will teach you about plagiarism. You know what plagiarism is? This is a big issue in Taiwan right now. So this is where we learn about plagiarism. I think I'm spelling this right. Actually, this is a good word. What does plagiarism mean? So if you write a report for university or high school and you copy somebody else's work, that's called plagiarism. So, and as you know, in Taiwan right now, this is a big deal, right? Everyone's talking about it. So, yeah. So in high school, when we wrote this report, our teachers were very careful, saying, this is plagiarism and this is not plagiarism. If you use somebody's work, you have to give them credit, right? You have to say this is where, and so we have things called footnotes. At the bottom it says this is where, or end note, at the very end, you can put them at the bottom of the page or at the end of the report. It says, here's all my sources of information. So why don't we say it together? Plagiarism. Plagiarism. And as a 动词, we say to plagiarize. Plagiarize. Right, so if you say he plagiarized my work, it means he stole my work. He put it in his own paper. Okay, so anyhow, what I'm trying to say is when I was in high school, I wrote this very long term paper, and my topic was the CIA. So I remember that. I did all this research on the CIA. So yeah. So anyhow, that's a good word. That's probably a word we would not normally learn, but in Taiwan right now, everybody's talking about plagiarism. So one more time, let's say plagiarism. That's a 名词. And then the verb plagiarize. Plagiarize. Okay. So yeah, good word to know. Oh, sorry. Did I write that wrong? Okay. So let me correct that. Okay. Yeah. It's one of those rare words with two S's, double S. Okay. So yeah, it's a rare word because it has two S's twice. Yeah. Yeah. So let's say it again. Assassin. Assassinate. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go into this. Obviously, this is a huge issue. I was reading yesterday that in Japan, Japan is very trying to get everybody to have digital, Suwei ID cards. And nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but many Japanese do not like this because they're worried about their privacy. They're afraid someone's going to steal their information. And it's funny because everyone thinks Japan is a very high technology country, but there's a lot of things about Japan. I have friends who live there and tell me this, that are very low tech. Like Japan, they love, even now, most companies still use fax machines. Fax? I haven't used a fax machine in probably 10 years, right? Okay. But in Japan, I hear most companies still use fax machines, and they are very low tech about things. My friends teach at university in Japan, and they said that when COVID-19 came, everybody wanted to do online school. They said most teachers didn't have any idea how to do that. They never made plans for it. So it's kind of interesting because they're very traditional in many ways. So anyhow, it says here, Australia laments lack of cyber defense preparedness. Now, I think you know what cyber is, right? Cyber means online, right? But cyber defense means, what are they defending against? Hackers, hacker, right? So cyber defense means the hackers or online cyber attacks, against, of course, I read that Taiwan gets more cyber attacks than any other country in the world, or something like that. They get, tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of cyber attacks every day, coming from probably China and other places. But so for that, of course, we need cyber defense. So why don't we say together, cyber defense? Cyber defense. Now, here's a good word that I don't think we've learned before. If you lament something, what does that mean? Yeah, it could mean you feel sad about it, or you feel very, sorry about it. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. So if you say he lamented the passing of his dog, the death of his dog, his dog died, and so he lamented it. The word lament is kind of similar to another word, which is the word to mourn, right? To mourn, okay? Now, of course, if you want to turn lament into a noun, you could say a lamentation. Now, this is not a word we use very often. There's a book in the Bible, the Shenjing, that's called Lamentations, but this is not a word we actually use the word to lament more, okay? So to lament something means to mourn something, to feel sorry about something, to feel bad about something, upset about something. But it has that idea of mourning. like someone dies or something's missing or you lose something and you lament it. You could say he lamented the loss of his favorite hat. Maybe you lose your favorite hat and you're like, oh man, I missed that hat. I really wish I had it. You miss something, you mourn it, you feel bad for it. Okay, does everybody understand that? So let's say together, lament, lament, lamentation, lamentation, and then that other word, to mourn, to mourn. Okay, so you mourn something. Yeah, I lamented the law. It could be something you like very much. I don't know if I ever told you, I just mentioned the example hat. I had a friend who, this is many, 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 many years ago. He was traveling in China, and they were backpacking, and he had a favorite hat. He wore this hat everywhere, and every place he would go to in China, he would get a pin. You can buy these pins, like a souvenir pin, and you stick it in his hat, right? So he had all these pins on his hat, and I wasn't there. The three of my friends were traveling together, and they were on a train somewhere in the middle of nowhere in China, and they were leaning out the window to take pictures of each other. My friend stuck his head out the window, and his hat went, and he was so upset. He told the other two friends, he said, I don't care. I'm going to get off the train at the next stop, and I'm going to walk all the way back to find my hat. And my friends were like, you're crazy. You're never going to find it, because it was in the middle of nowhere, right? He's like, you're never going to find that hat. Who knows where it is, But my friend was like, no, I'm going to do it. But of course, he never did. But he lamented the loss of his favorite hat because he had all those pins on it. So, yeah. So anyhow, the word here, preparedness, just means, it's a noun, 名词, and it means to be prepared, right? Like we often say earthquake preparedness or typhoon preparedness. Does Taiwan have sufficient earthquake preparedness? Means, are they ready, or have they prepared? So why don't we say together, preparedness. Preparedness. Okay, so they feel like they're sorry, or they feel bad they don't have enough preparedness. Okay, so here it says, hackers accessed millions of medical records at one of Australia's largest private health insurers, the company said yesterday, prompting the government to say that the nation's cyber safeguards were inadequate. Okay, let's look at this word here first of all. Of course, we have the word cyber, but this word here, safeguard, this can be a noun or a verb. What does it mean? Yeah, it means protections. So if you say Taiwan needs to safeguard itself against China, it means Taiwan needs to protect itself. Or you could say, what safeguards does your company have against hackers? It means, what protections does your company have against hackers? Haiku. Okay, so that word safeguard is really the same as protect, to protect, or protection, a verb or a noun. And it's a good word. We do use it quite often. So why don't we say together, safeguard, to safeguard, cyber safeguards. Right, so we could change this word to cyber protections. Okay, it could be the same thing. Okay, so here it says hackers access. Of course, the word access means to get into something. Like if you want to take money out of the ATM machine, you need we say a PIN number, PIN number, a code, mima, to access your money, to get into your money. So why don't we say together, remember this is a C, K, and a S, so access. Okay, access. Right. I might say, do you have access to the president? It means, can you get in touch with him? Yeah, or her. Okay, so hackers access millions of medical records, okay, at one of Australia's largest private, not public. Of course, Taiwan has public health, right? But private health insurers, okay, this is a company, an insurance company. The company said yesterday, prompting. What's another word for prompting? Not urging. Well, you could say it that way. Actually, you're correct. But this has a different meaning here. If something prompts someone to do something, what does that mean? Causing, yeah. So you can say the earthquake prompted me to take more safeguards or to protect my house. Okay, so if something prompts you to do something, it means that it causes you to do something. It's funny, this word prompt gets used in many interesting ways. In a play, well, actually, I should say this. Today, a lot of government officials, especially presidents, when they give a speech, they have a special screen below you that they read, and it's called a like telephone, T-E-L-E, a teleprompter, okay? Because what does it do? It prompts them, it tells them what to say. So if sometimes when you watch somebody, you can tell they're reading the teleprompter because they're like looking down. Or on TV, if you watch TV news, they often have a teleprompter. They're reading it. There's been some funny movies, of course, comedy movies, where somebody types something on the teleprompter and they just read it, right? Actually, unfortunately, our president, Joe Biden, recently made a mistake. At the bottom, it said something like repeat sentence or something like that, and he read it. At the bottom, it's like, here's the statement, then at the bottom, it says repeat this sentence or end of sentence, right? And he read that part, right? You're not supposed to read that, right? It's a reminder to you, right? So, yeah. Some people joke that you put anything on the teleprompter, they'll read it, right? But also, I don't know if you've ever seen like a play, like a play, you go watch a performance. In the old, I think they still do this. Sometimes hidden below the stage, there'd be a person sitting there, and they would be the prompter. So if somebody's acting, right, and they forget their lines, they forget what they're going to say, that person has a script, and they will actually tell the person, you're supposed to say this, right? They'll prompt them. So, do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And they're hidden. You usually can't see them. The audience cannot see that person, but they're hidden below, and the person will be like, okay, you're supposed to say this. Yeah. So we call that a prompter. That's their job. So anyhow, the prompt means you could say to cause someone to do something, to urge someone to do something. It could mean to give someone a clue, tell them what to say. It's an interesting word. So why don't we say together, prompting. Prompting. Okay. Okay, so let's read this. Hackers accessed millions of medical records at one of Australia's largest private health insurers. Let's say that last part again. Largest private health insurers. The company said yesterday, prompting the government to say that the nation's cyber safeguards were inadequate. Inadequate. Sorry, I forgot to mention this word. What does that mean? Not enough. Not adequate, right? Adequate means enough. If I say, are you drinking adequate amount of water every day? And you say, no, my water consumption, my water intake is inadequate. It means I'm not drinking enough water. Okay, so I have inadequate time. I don't have enough time to finish this, okay? We have inadequate. Not inaccessible, or wait, you're asking if I can describe somebody as inaccessible? Yeah, so he's referring to the word access, sorry. If someone is accessible, it means they are very easy, you can easily find them or talk to them, or they're easy to communicate with. But if someone is inaccessible, it means it's not easy to get in touch with them. Leaders, government leaders, Some leaders are very accessible, right? You need to reach them, you need to call them, you need to talk to them. No problem, you can find them. But others are very inaccessible. When you want to talk to them or meet with them, 没有办法. You can't get a hold of them. So today, of course, with smartphones and all that, people sometimes get upset if you are inaccessible, right? If you don't answer your mobile phone every time someone calls you, or you don't reply to their message, they get upset because they feel like you are being inaccessible, right? So that's a good word. Let's say together, inaccessible. Inaccessible. And then, of course, the other word, accessible. Right. You're not available. If you say I'm not available, it means I just can't meet with you. I'm not available to meet or do this, right? If someone says, hey, are you free for dinner on Saturday? And you say, sorry, I'm not available. Okay. But accessible is not available means I'm busy. I don't have time. But accessible more means like, can I get in touch with you? Can I actually even contact you? Can I talk to you, or meet with you? Okay. Now, I want to actually, when you mentioned that, I was thinking about another thing. Inadequate can be used to describe a person. If you say that person is inadequate, or that effort or that thing is inadequate, it means they're not able to do what they're supposed to do, right? You could say he was inadequate as a leader. Okay, it means he did not ability, yes, to lead. Okay, so we can use that word to describe a person that lacks something, something. Okay, so go on. It says MetaBank Chief Executive David Koskar said that information about each of the company's 3.9 million policyholders had been compromised. Now, first of all, a policyholder means what? Right, because when you take out insurance, when you buy insurance, that they give you an insurance policy. Now, it's funny because policy, often we use that word to describe like 政策, right? Like government policy. But a policy here, it's almost like a contract, like a 合约 or something. But we say insurance policy. That's what we usually say. So if you are a policy holder, it means that you have a insurance policy with that company. Okay? So why don't we say together, policy holders. Policy holders. Okay, so the information for, sounds like all of their policy holders, has been compromised. And if something is compromised, what does that mean? Yeah, it means, so I think you remember the word compromise has more than one meaning. If you compromise with somebody while you're having a discussion, it means that you give them something, right? Let's say, for example, we're negotiating, and you say, well, I want to sell you this for $10,000. And you say, no, I only want to pay $8,000. So the other person says, okay, I'll compromise. I'll sell it to you for $9,000, right? So I'm giving you something. I'm compromising. I'm giving in, right? To give in to someone. We can compromise our ideas, right? If you say, I will never smoke a cigarette in my life, but one day you say, okay, I'm going to compromise. I'm just going to smoke one cigarette, okay? Okay, so I'm giving in, okay? But here, if we have this, we talk about security, or we talk about something that is important and you compromise it, it means that it's not secure anymore. It's been opened up. It's been damaged, or it's been broken into, okay? So we often say security or defense or something that you're trying to protect has been compromised. It means now it's been broken into. So we can compromise our safety, our security, our integrity. If someone is very honest, right, but then they tell a lie, we say, well, then they have compromised their integrity. I don't know if you know that word. We talk about honesty, right, but we also talk about integrity. How do you say integrity in Chinese? What is it? Yeah. So someone who's a man, we say a man or a woman of integrity means they're always honest, they do the right thing, they act properly, they have integrity, Integrity. Let's say together, integrity. Integrity. Right, it's always a good thing. We like people with integrity. So unfortunately, if you compromise your integrity, means you've broken that. There's something you've done that is not, does not show integrity. Okay, so anyhow, the security or the information has been compromised. So it's out there. It's no longer safe. Okay, no longer secure, no longer secret or private. Okay, so let's read this together. MetaBank Chief Executive David Koskar said that information about each of the company's 3.9 million policyholders, let's say it again, policyholders, had been compromised. Okay, so he says, our investigation has now established that this criminal has accessed all our private health insurance customers' personal data and significant amounts of their health claims data, he said in a statement to the Australian Securities Exchange. This is a terrible crime. This is a crime designed to cause maximum harm to the most vulnerable members of our community. Okay, so there's a couple words here. First of all, our investigation has now established, we often say, okay, this company was established, this company was founded, but here he says our investigation has established that. What does that mean? What's another word for this? Close, but not quite. Kind of. There's a word starts with a D. Yes, determined. Okay, so you could say that. Let's go to the next page. It says has determined that. It means we have found out that we have. I guess you could say has discovered, but we've we have determined that this is the way to do this. We have determined that that's what happened. Okay, it means we have established that. That's certain. We're sure about this now. So if you establish something or you determine something, it means it's sure. It's not a when, how. It's for sure. Okay. So why don't we say it together? Established. Established. Determined. Determined. Okay, so yeah, when you become sure of something, you now know it's true. You can say, we have established that this is what happened, and we have determined that this. Of course, these two words can be used in other ways, right? They have other meanings, but this is one meaning for them. So our investigation has now established that this criminal has accessed all of our private insurance, health insurance customers' personal data. Of course, remember the word data can be data, either one is fine. And their health claims data. Now, health claim, of course, if you get sick, what do? You make a claim to the insurance company. Now, a claim means that I claim money, right? You need to pay me insurance now. If you get in a car accident and you want the insurance company to cover you, and you have a policy, then of course you need to make a claim. You need to call up the insurance company and say, hey, look, here's my damage, and this is how much it costs and all that. So we call that an insurance claim. So significant amounts, it means quite a bit, a lot, amounts of their health claims data or data. Okay, he said in a statement, this is a terrible crime. This is a crime designed to cause maximum. Of course, maximum means the biggest, the most, okay? The most harm to the most vulnerable members of our community. And what's vulnerable mean? Easy to get hurt, yeah. Babies are vulnerable, right? Because they're small and they can't protect themselves and they're very delicate. people who are very old, right? They might be more vulnerable because physically, we could say they're physically vulnerable. It's easier for them to fall down or break something or get sick. But it could also say anyone could be emotionally emotionally vulnerable, right? It means I can easily get my feelings hurt, right? Mentally vulnerable, physically vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable. All those things means it's easy for me to be damaged or hurt. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, so a person, a country, the data, security, anything can be vulnerable. So why don't we say together, vulnerable, vulnerable. Okay, so this is a good word to know. So designed to cause maximum harm, the most harm to the most vulnerable people in our community. Of course, people who are filing health insurance claims, they might be sick, or they might be older, or they might, anything. They might have been in an accident. So let's read this word too, maximum. Maximum. What's the opposite of that? Minimum. M-I-N-I-M-U. Well, let me just write it down. Yeah. Let's read that. Minimum. Minimum. Maximum. Maximum. Yeah. In Taiwan, I know they're always talking about raising the minimum wage or salary, right? What's the minimum that a company can pay somebody for their salary, their 薪水? Okay. So, yeah. Okay, let's read this. Where are we here? Okay. Our investigation has now established that this criminal has accessed all our private health insurance, customers' personal data, and significant amounts of their health claims data. He said in a statement to the Australian Securities Exchange. This is a terrible crime. This is a crime designed to cause maximum harm to the most vulnerable members of our community. Right. Now, here it says the Australian Securities Exchange. Of course, securities refers to what? It's not, this isn't I don't think this is talking about security. This is what are securities? Usually it's a financial term, right? Yeah. Yeah, so we talk about stocks and bonds. Yeah, finances. We talk about securities. So we talk about a securities company, right? It's not, there's a difference, right? If it says TIES, then it's talking, this is finance, money, okay? But if we say a security with a Y company, then we're talking about a company that does protection. Like if you have a office or a company, a building, and you want to protect that, we say the security company for your building. Like I think most apartment buildings and offices, they have what do they call that? 保全, yeah, a security company, right? That protects or does security for that building. So it's a big difference between the Y and the IES. The IES means finance or money. Okay, yeah, exchange. So yeah, I guess because it's an insurance company, the Securities Exchange is in charge of this kind of industry or business. Yeah. Both are okay. Yeah. I think stocks is more of a common word, to buy stocks. And Yeah, stocks. We talk about stocks. And then, of course, I taught you before a bond, B-O-N-D. How do you say that in Chinese? Yeah, so companies and governments will also sell bonds. Yeah, B-O-N-D, like James Bond. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's a photo. So it says here the cyber attack was revealed last week, but it was not known until now how many people were affected. Let's read the next paragraph. The hackers have previously threatened to leak the data, starting with 1,000 famous Australians, unless Medibank pays a ransom. Interesting. Okay, so they had previously, this is before, threatened to leak. And you know what leak means, right? You know, if you 漏水, you know, of course, this can be a 名词 or a 动词. Here it's a 动词, a verb. To leak means to let out, okay? The data starting with 1,000. So this is interesting. They want to start with 1,000 famous Australians. You know, maybe they're movie stars or politicians or, yeah, celebrities. We say celebrities. So if you're a famous person, celebrity, we talk about someone who is famous. Now, this word is usually only used for the entertainment industry. We don't usually say, I guess we could actually say a political celebrity. Like, you know, in Taiwan, you know, someone like Han Kuo-yu is a political celebrity, you know. But yeah, we usually, when I think of this word, I think about a movie star or a music star, entertainer. They are celebrity. Like Tom Cruise, of course. He's a famous celebrity. Okay, why don't we say it together? Celebrity. Celebrity. Okay, so unless Medibank pays a ransom, and what's a ransom? Right. You know, if you kidnap somebody or you steal something and you say, okay, unless you do this, you need to pay me this money or I'm going to do this. Or unless you pay me this money, I'm going to hold this person. So that's called a ransom. I usually think of this word, it's most commonly connected with kidnapping. You know, someone gets kidnapped and then their family has to pay a ransom. Like recently in Cambodia, right? You know, Jianpusai, there was some people asking for ransom. Okay, so let's say it together, ransom. Ransom. Right. Okay, so let's read this together. Let's read this. The cyber attack was revealed last week. But it was not known until now how many people were affected. The hackers have previously threatened to leak the data, starting with 1,000 famous Australians, unless Medibank pays a ransom. Ransom. Yeah. Okay, so it says here, Medibank said that it was not insured against cyber attacks, estimating that the hack could cost the company as much as 35 million Australian dollars. Okay, so yeah, it's a lot of money. So they're not insured. This is kind of ironic, right? They're an insurance company, but they're not insured against cyber attacks or yeah. So yeah. You know, I always say nowadays, if you're going to do anything in this world, you should make sure you're insured. I think insurance now is so important. I mean, it's interesting because I wonder, do most houses in Taiwan, homes, do they have like typhoon insurance? I know they probably have fire insurance, right? Yeah. But are they insured against typhoons, earthquakes, or is there an earthquake insurance? No? Yes? Some people do? Okay. So yeah, I mean, you think about that. Yeah, you have to think about, well, do I need that insurance or not? I know that some insurance is mandatory, right? Mandatory means you must have it, like car insurance, right? Everyone has to have some kind of car insurance. So if you have a situation and you're uninsured, means you don't have insurance, then you could be in trouble or you could end up paying a lot of money. In America, the worst fear for anybody, I think, is to be uninsured and have a health emergency. Because if you have a health problem and you're not insured, you're in big trouble because that's a lot of money. Now, there are certain ways. Sometimes if someone has, let's say someone doesn't have any money and they need to go to the hospital, there are certain things that will help cover that. But if you have a real serious health issue, like you have to have a kai dao or something like that, that could be a lot of money in America. I mean, a lot of money. So anyhow, it's kind of crazy. That's why many people are happy to live in Taiwan. So yeah, my American friends love living here. So yeah. Okay, so they were not insured. Now it says here, estimating that the hack, we know the word hacker, but here, of course, this is a 名词. The hack is like, it's kind of like the attack. When you hack something, or you can say, as a 名词, it was a hack on so we hacked something, or we were hacked, or this is a hack. Okay, so that word is very flexible. Okay, now I want to actually tell you something. If you go on YouTube or you go on I don't know, just go online, this word gets used in a very different way. We talk about life or living hacks, and I don't know if you've not, but basically it means like I'll write the other word that I think of when I think of a hack. It's like a shortcut. Okay? It means if you're trying to do something and you want to do it in an easier, quicker way, we say, what is the hack? What's the best hack for this? So basically, if you go on, especially on YouTube, there's all these videos that teach you how to do things in a faster, easier way. Like, let's say you want to make, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a hack. Let's say you want to, you want to fix your car, but you're not, no, that's not a good example. I'm just trying to think of something where there's an easier way to do it. Yeah, okay, maybe your bingxiang is broken or it's not cold enough and you're trying to think, well, what do I do? And they think, well, here's an easy hack. Or no, let's say your clothing there's a hole, there's a dong in your shirt, and you're like, oh no, what do I do? I need to fix this really quickly. And they're like, oh, well, you can do this, right? You can use glue, or you can, I don't know, you can do something. So it's a shortcut. It's an easy way to fix or do something that you would not normally do. Maybe an emergency. Like, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're walking down the road and suddenly the bottom of your shoe comes off, right? And you're like, oh no, I'm outside and I'm not near my house and my shoe's coming apart. What do I do? And then they say, oh, don't worry. There's a special hack you can use to fix your shoe so you can keep walking. Maybe you can use, I don't know, super glue or what? Yeah, go barefoot. But no, I think a hack would be a way to fix or do something. So if you see this word hack sometimes, it's not always a bad thing. Like, it's not always like a hack attack. It could be like a shortcut. You know the word shortcut, right? It's a faster way to do something. Okay. So why don't we say that word again? Hack. Hack. Shortcut. Shortcut. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a whole different meaning, right? The original word for hack, I mean, before computers and online, is to chop, to cut, So if you hack at something, it means you cut away at something. Let's say you're out in the sunling and there's lots of trees and branches in your way, and you have a knife and you might hack away the trees or the branches or the leaves. It means to cut, okay? So that's the other way. That's the original meaning of that word, okay? So let's read this. Metabank said that it was not insured against cyber attacks, estimating that the hack could cost the company as much as 35 million Australian dollars. Right. Okay. I don't get that feeling. I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they did. Yeah. I doubt they would. Because, if you do that, that's kind of like encouraging, hackers, yeah, they'll do it even more. I know nowadays people will hack your data and on your computer, and they'll lock your computer, and we call that, there's a special kind of software, actually that's a good word, ranti, and we call that ransomware. So software is ranti, but if it's a ranti that kidnaps or steals your data and will not open it to you, you cannot get it until you pay the money. We call that ransomware. Yeah, it's very common right now. I mean, I had friends that have had this, right? Or I know companies, right? All your computers, your data, you cannot get into it. You can't open it until you pay them money. And that they use this special software called ransomware to do that, to steal, to block it, to lock it. Okay. Why don't we say together, ransomware? Ransomware. Right. Okay. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. But I hope that you're taking precautions. I will say, if you're using a computer, it's good to have antiviral software on there. It's very good to do that because today it's so common to have stuff stolen off your computer, and yeah, there's something we always have to be careful. So make sure you buy insurance and use antiviral software. Be safe. Okay, so once again, if you want to take any of these out and give them out to people, or take one for yourself, or put them in your building or something, you're more than welcome. I have a lot more here. If you want to take any posters, I have some here for you too. You can take them with you. So anyhow, yeah, and hopefully we'll see you at this event in not this weekend, but the next weekend. Okay, thank you.